life. Say what? I am an expert at my own life. Those who don't do teach, it was thought. Wrong but blossom, you do and must teach. Silly stupid or else silly stupid runs the show, mom. Now I've got to go blow my own soul out to the one fool who gets it. So no more mediocre when truth arises out your lips. Kiss silky stink of orange peppermint and sip it slowly, walk it gently, and take it easy, breezy, baby. Sing it loudly, silent lady, and say what?
Hello everyone, my name is Samantha Cross and I am a WCSU MFA student studying poetry. This first poem I have for you is based on 3 horsehead sculptures that were featured at the Aloft Gallery in Litchfield, appropriately named Horsehead Down, Horsehead Stretched, and Horsehead Up. You would be lying to me if you said you have never been the horsehead down. I have seen you cry in the mirror, cursing the scar across your left hip. I know the pain inside your loins. I've seen you limp and lumber your way around the house at night. I have seen you swallow back tears and turn your head to the side when he confessed his lies to you. You would be lying to me if you said you have never been the horsehead down. You would be lying to me if you said you have never been the horsehead stretched. I have seen the sacrifices you have made for the betterment of those around you. You have left your left leg at the grocery store while your right arm buckles the child's car seat. You have left your middle fingers at the intersection of, hey, he cut me off and I should have left you, while your heart wanders away from you like a child wanders at a circus. She's off dreaming that someday it will be charged and glowing. I know you would be lying if you said to me, you have never stretched your horse of a head too far. I have seen the tiger stripes of age lick your skin. You would be lying to me if you said you have never been the horse head up. I have watched you from afar, grazing in the fields of gaiety. I must say, for an old horse like yourself, you have stood the test of time. Your shoulders remain square despite gravity doing its best to bring you down. I have seen life spring from your ribs like the opening riff of heaven's gate, my dear. I have seen you pull the weeds and grass by the root to devour them in self-righteousness. I have seen you outrun the bear and its cub to save your own hide, my dear. I have gazed upon the mare of the valley, galloping into the burning sun just to feel something. My God, you would be lying to me if you dared say you have never been the horse head up. This next poem is Roller Rink Pantoum. His eyes are brown, hot earth, circling round and round, my skates beaten and bruised from kissing the floor one too many times. Circling round and round, my knees are still red from last month's fall. Kissing the floor one too many times, still coming back for more. My knees are still red from praying at his feet. My obsessions twirling under disco lights, always coming back for more, not knowing when I've bled myself dry. My obsessions are chasing disco lights, hoping I'll find a lover, drowning in violet hues, not knowing when to stay dry. More liquor, more drugs, more love. Hoping I'll find myself drenched in violet hues, deception, my best friend, more lies, liquor and drugs and loveless intimacy. I keep my eyes down at the rink. Deception, my best enemy, his eyes are brown like hot earth. I keep my eyes downturned at the rink, my heart beaten and bruised.
Hey, hello everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Speak Your Mind, and give it up to Sam Cross. Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for joining us on our show today. Wonderful poetry.
Thank you.
Deep and thoughtful.
Thank you.
Very
Thank you.
insightful.
Thank you.
So folks at home, I love you for coming back each week. If you're new to us, what we do in this segment is we do a what's called a writing challenge. But first, our featured artist right here has some information for us that she's going to share off our contemplative question, which is, what is it that inspires you the most in your work?
Yeah, so I usually find myself writing about 3 topics pretty regularly, and that would be family, womanhood, and femininity.
Family, womanhood, and what was the last one?
Femininity.
And femininity. Very nice. Awesome. So thank you so much again for joining us. So what we do is we start off with a brainstorm before we go into the writing prompts. And Sam is a MFA student at WestConn.
Yes.
And I'm so excited about this writing challenge that we have today, because this is part of the reason why I do the show. Yes, is to get you at home to start writing and be inspired. But of course, I have to be inspired first in order to pass on that inspiration to you. And so this one that we have today is a little bit advanced. However, I think anybody can approach it. So for our brainstorm, so a Pantone, why don't first you explain what a Pantone is? So we're doing things a little bit different this time because it's a little bit more advanced.
Absolutely.
So bear with me, Mike, sorry, in the back. What is a Pantone?
So pantoums are a type of form poem, like a sonnet, like a sestina. It's a way to write a poem that comes from, ancient poetry. And pantoums are poems using repeated lines. So they're quartets, which are 4-line stanzas. Okay. And the first line and third line become the second and fourth line of the next stanza. And then for the last stanza, line 2 and 4 are line 1 and 3 from the first stanza.
I know that sounds so complicated at home right now, but luckily you have the luxury of being able to pause the video and go back through it a few times. I think by the end of our little conversation here, you'll have a good idea of what a Pantone is. But first thing you need to have is a theme for your Pantone. So what I did at home was I did a brainstorm for a theme of a Pantone. So that's what I'm going to do with you right now. So for about a minute, what I do is I just take my journal. You can join with us.
Sure.
And it's really just a brain dump. So it's the most important thing is not lifting your hand from the paper and writing whatever comes to your mind about themes that you want to write about. And so just to get you started, folks at home, I'm going to have Mike put on some concentration music. Get out your journal and start your brainstorm with us, or you could do it later. And I'm going to talk you through it a little bit. So keep writing as I'm talking. Anything you want to write about. So, if you've been with us for a while, you could use any of the writing prompts themes that we've already done, like appreciating the seasons. We did cookies, we did etching and etch, we did death and dying, or you could do new ones. You could do, springtime fun, vacation. You can do it on animals, things you love, memories. So as you're doing your brainstorm and you're writing, as you write stuff, maybe star or underline 2 or 3 themes that you're inspired by, that you think you want to write about. And like I'm put down restless thoughts. And that, I'm going to circle that one because that's the one that I'm actually going to do. But, if you circle 3, then you can start to eliminate vocabulary words. I don't know why that popped into my head, but whatever pops into your head. We do not censor when we're doing our brainstorm because all of our ideas are way back in the back of our mind, and we have to let it out. Plants. I have plants on the mind today. All right, Mike, you can go ahead and fade out the music, and you can start to come to the end of your brainstorm. Of course, at home, you can do your brainstorm as many times as you want until you feel warmed up and comfortable and like you have a good theme that you want to talk about. Good. So next what we're going to do, we're going to go into our writing challenge. And so the writing challenge is write a 4-line, 4-stanza pantun. And again, bear with me because by the end of the segment, you'll know exactly what a pantun is, and you'll be probably doing pantuns all the time because that's kind of how I feel now. I'm like, okay, now I kind of want to do a lot of pantuns.
Yeah.
Like it was hard at first, but now that I get the gist of it, it's like super duper fun. And you made it sound seamless with the one you read. We'll go over that one too.
Sure.
But first we're going to share our pantuns.
Yep.
And I'm going to share with you the one that I got. All right. So it's called, so my theme was Restless Thoughts. All right, Restless Thoughts. So I'll put up the lines so that way those people who want to follow the format will get a little bit of understanding of what stanza I'm in. All right, first line. Restless thoughts, my mind races. Sitting on top of the mountain, rocking myself into peace, praying for light of day. Sitting on top of the mountain, holding breath of might, praying for light of day, uplifted beyond the noise. Holding breath of might, pushing away shadows from yesterday, uplifted beyond the noise, breakthroughs of revelation unveiled. Pushing away shadows from yesterday, determined to see all clear, breakthroughs of revelation unveiled, accepting all that there is.
That's great.
Did I do it right?
Yeah. I really like the uplifted above noise line. That was a really great line, and that can go a very long way in a pantun.
Yeah. All right, I want to hear what you wrote.
So I actually have a title for mine. I named it Limitless Pantun, and when I try to write pantuns, I like to think about things that come back or things that are infinite. So you'll catch that theme in here. We were young and we were limitless. We had the sky on our tongues and heaven in our pockets. We were limitless, and we danced till our toes split. Heaven in our pockets, our dresses began to slip. Our toes began to split because we were young, and our dresses began to slip because the sky was on our tongues.
Nice. So I'm going to have you go through that again and break it down.
Sure.
This is kind of exciting having you here today because we get to sort of like delve into sort of the nerdiness of being a writer and the things that we really enjoy and having sort of these challenges and writing prompts and sort of thinking outside of the box. But before I have you break it down, share a little bit about your background. I know you're an MFA student, you're a spoken word poet, and you teach as well, is that correct?
I taught for one semester. That semester is since over. That was last year. I was teaching an undergraduate class at Western Connecticut State University at 22 years old.
Wow.
So it was a very interesting experience, teaching these students who weren't much younger than me. Some of them were definitely older than me as well. So I've been studying at WestConn for 4 years for undergraduate. I have a bachelor's degree in creative professional writing and a bachelor's degree in psychology. And now I am working towards my master's of fine arts at WestConn still in poetry and marketing and PR writing.
Oh, very nice. Yeah, well, you definitely know your stuff.
I do.
That's for sure. And you're my favorite type of person because as you saw in the opening, those who don't do teach.
Yes.
My favorite type of teachers are the one who actually do it. And I've seen you perform several times, and you're a very powerful poet.
Thank you.
And so I love when people who are doing it have the passion of the ones teaching it because that's what's going to inspire, the kids out there or adults out there.
Absolutely.
When the teacher is like disconnected from the work, there's no juice.
Yeah, poetry was definitely my favorite unit to teach, and I think my students pick that up
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and I like because you have that sort of edginess, you know. You have that tradition, like what I love is like, you know, I love the traditional stuff. I
Yeah.
just don't always like how it shows up in the world.
Yes.
And I like that you marry, similar, Barb was one of our guests. She's the poet laureate from Richfield.
Yep.
I think she's similar in that way, a little different, but similar
Yep.
in that she has kind of all of that sort of traditional style,
Yeah.
the technique,
Yep.
but with a little bit of edge and personality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just
Absolutely.
it's kind of like it's not your mom's poetry or your
Yes.
grandma's poetry.
Yes, yeah. And what's great about modern poetry now is that we're taking these traditional forms, but we're modernizing them. So, for example, pantoums, traditionally the line is copied word for word, but as you saw in the pantoum that I wrote now and the pantoum that I performed earlier, I changed the lines just a little bit, right?
Oh, all right, show us.
Yeah.
So if you can, I don't know if the folks at home are going to be able to see it if you hold it up.
Sure.
But I would love to sort of get like it to jump off the page a little.
Yeah, so for example, we'll take a look at the first line and the second line in the last stanza. So the
Okay.
first line is, "We were young."
We were
but
young.
in the last stanza, I changed it to, "Because we were young." And I changed it because we take that line, "Our toes began to split because we were young," right? So you have to add that little because in there, that conjunction, to make sure that it makes sense, right? And then we had the sky on our tongues. That's the third line in the first stanza, and then the last line in the last stanza, "Because the sky was on our tongues." So we
Okay.
have that because there again. And then in the roller rink pantoum, the one that I read earlier,
Let me pause there for a moment. So, because I love this, because
Yeah.
we're getting like different levels.
Yep.
You know, and I know our folks at home are all at different levels. So we have that like sort of basic level pantoon. But if you want to get it a more intermediate or advanced,
Yep.
it can actually become almost the pantoon can end up becoming subtle within it. Is that
Yes.
sort of what you're going for?
yeah, there's subtleties in the lines that you can take, right? And as well as understanding that you might have an idea for the pantoum, but a pantoum is like the little monster under your bed. It has a mind of its own. And sometimes when you're writing and you're repeating these lines, you lose track of what you're actually setting out to write. And that's perfectly okay. In fact, that's more than okay. You should let the pantoum run wild. You should
Okay.
let it explore itself on the page, because that's when you really start to get into the unexpected of poetry.
And you're an MFA student, so
I
you're
am.
the authority on that. See, if I said that, like, it really wouldn't work, because it would just be me, like, lazy, cheating, and I could be a little rebellious in my writing.
Yep.
And I love, like, coming from a professional and expert saying that you can let it run a little bit wild. Because I think
Yes.
sometimes as artists, there's kind of two forms of camp. There's, like, the rebellious one, where it's like
Yes.
throw out all the form, and the ones who are such sticklers, you know?
Yes.
And so, like you were saying, modern poetry is sort of kind of blending this. It's doing kind of what music did with, like,
Yep.
you know, the salsa fusion and
Absolutely.
like the hip hop. And I feel
Absolutely.
like that's happening with poetry, and it's so
Yes.
exciting.
Yes, poetry is constantly evolving. I cannot believe that poetry is dead in any way, shape, or form, because there are so many great poets out there. I know what comes to my mind immediately is Jill McDonough, and she is, I believe, a Boston-based poet who writes a lot of sonnets. And sonnets typically have a very strict rhyme scheme.
Yes.
However, she uses a lot of slant rhymes in her sonnets. And you may not be able to pick that up immediately if there wasn't sonnet in the title of the poem.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yes,
Oh, this is
yes.
cool. I hope that you guys at home are, like, you know, starting to sort of like tingle and get excited about wanting to sort of delve into like all of these realms of possibilities. And we definitely are going to have you back for sure
Thank
to be
you.
able to maybe do some of these more advanced writing prompts,
Yeah.
but also make it accessible to someone who is a beginner.
Yep.
Yeah. So super duper quickly on your
your first poem that you did in the Pantun, would you pick out and show the audience what those repeating lines are so they can see them?
You want me, the one that I read?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in Roller Rink Pantun, the first line, his eyes are brown, hot earth. And then in the last stanza, the second line is, his eyes are brown, like hot earth. So that's that idea of same line, subtle difference. But if we take a look at the first and second stanza, the second line is circling round and round. My skates beaten and bruised from kissing the floor one too many times. So that's lines 1, 2, and 3. So in the next stanza, we have circling round and round. So that's line 2 from stanza 1. And then my knees are still red from last month's fall, which is a new line. Kissing the floor one too many times. That's line 3, which is line 4 from the first stanza. And then still coming back for more is the fourth line in the second stanza, which becomes third line in the third stanza. And I changed it to always coming back for more.
Great. So that way, when you go back and rewind the video and listen to her poem, you can piece together where the Pantun technique is.
Yes.
And go online and look up what a Pantun is to get an idea to write your own, and then watch this, and then add in some of those other little nuances. I think it'll be a lot of fun for you, and then you can share it with me on the Facebook group Speak Your Mind, or speakyyourmind@myyahoo.com. I would love to hear from you. And Sam is going to do some more poems in just a few minutes. But first, Sam, what tips do you have for our audience at home who are either beginning to write or have been writing for a while?
Absolutely. My biggest suggestion, especially in terms of writing poetry, is to overwrite in the beginning. You don't know what's working in a poem if it's not in there, right? So overwrite as much as you want, and then when you go back, ask yourself, what is the heart of this poem? What am I trying to say with this poem? And once you have that question in mind, and you really have a good answer, you can go back and you can start to cut those lines that may not really be serving the poem as it should be.
Love it. So more is more when it comes to poetry.
Yes.
And you're going to do some more poems for us?
Yes.
Awesome. So do not go anywhere. Stay tuned for our feature. And we'll see you again next week on Speak Your Mind. Thank you.
This is a sestina, another form poem, sestina for Amy Winehouse. Amy, Amy, Amy. My heart aches knowing you'd take it all back just to walk down the street, the flash of fame, the betrayal of love steeped in addiction. What is your favorite album now? Were you laughed at by the gods? I've seen pictures of you, Amy. You fluctuated in weight and health and success. Amy, how badly did your skin ache drawing the blade across your tattoos? Did the gods mean for you to suffer so? Mean for the street to be your place of violence? I wonder if now you would know of peace and of the love you brought to an otherwise loveless place. I've thought for years I'd have an Amy tattoo on my shoulder, resting above where my grandmother's handwriting is now. I think I could live with it. Understanding the ache of the needle is temporary. The cold light of cameras on the street, your guide from sadistic gods prying you from our grip. But I bet the gods didn't expect your music to be played out of love in rehab centers after your death, or the streets to become rivers of tears for the loss of you, Amy. Our group therapy is a home for the ache of navigating the world without you now. It's been years now. Our prayers have gone unanswered by the gods. Do you see the women aching for men to save them? Men who do not know how to love like the men around you, Amy. We're all watching your father's pockets swell while he strolls down the street. I read somewhere you collapsed from a seizure on a street by your home just before you died. Does it matter now, though? We've gone 13 years without your voice, Amy. Are you singing for the gods? Are you filling their hearts with songs about love, or life, or hate, or addiction, or ache? I think of you often, how I'll never see you on the street, the gods deciding some heroes I should not meet. Now I know love is a losing game, Amy, and I'm left with nothing but my ache. How to Love Yourself 101. First, you must open up to yourself the way an influencer opens a box on YouTube. Slowly, carefully, showing every detail to the high-definition camera, Her Most Holiness, Her Most High. Next, remember, this is very important. Grab a glass from the cupboard and overpour it, yes. Fill it until it overflows. Let it spill all over the counter, all over the floor. Screw it, let it soak into the carpet too. Because then, and only then, can you throw everything out. Toss it all to the side of the road and let the cheapskates take it home and fill their house with hate, or depression, or anxiety so bad it shakes them like a leaf and plastic vinyl seats on late-night trains to the city. When you've thrown your damaged goods out, start cleaning. Start with the ceiling, knocking the cobwebs down, and scrape that popcorn stuff off because it's tacky. When you move to the walls, blast Kesha from the turquoise speaker your sibling gave you for Christmas because all you wanted was to sing along to the woman that saved you at 10 when she taught you how to party, singing TikTok though you did not understand the words, at 16 when you experienced your first heartbreak, again at 18 when you learned coercion is not love, carried right on through from 20 to 23, exploring all of the ramifications of the word assault. After you've cried to the benediction of spaceship, get on your hands and knees until they are bleeding raw. Start the cycle a second time. Grieve and grieve and grieve again, sometimes with your best friend, sometimes with your mom, and scrub the damn floor with grit and bleach. Once the dog hair finally lifts from between the floorboards, open the windows. Let the air wash over you like a hound licks her wounds.